Hello, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't done a story time in a while. This story time is inspired by somebody who messaged me and said, Vithya, I'm planning my wedding and I don't know the do's and the don'ts, and can you just help me and can you just share what you think we should have in our checklist? And I thought that's a fair question, not only because I was married before and got married again, but it's mainly because I'm a bridal makeup artist and I hear the good and the bad from all of my brides, and I get to witness a lot of stuff as well. So I thought I'll share what I think, okay, just this is my opinion and this is how I would do things, you should look out for and you should do if you're about to get married. Once you've booked your date, the first thing I think you should book is the venue. Now, when you look out for venue, I do think that you should have a theme and the venue should work around the theme. So, i.e. you want a temple wedding, then I guess you want to think about color schemes and what goes with the temple. That's how I did it. I wanted a very traditional looking temple that we did, and we decided on a destination wedding anyway. So I just worked my entire theme around that in terms of decorations and everything. And also if you pick a venue in London or whatever country you're in, you want to think about the size of it. You want to think about, okay, how many people are you inviting? Is it going to look nice, you know, with all the seating? Also, is the decoration going to work? Is it going to be symmetrical? Are you going to have parking? Is it going to be really convenient for people to get to? So these are all the things that you want to think about when it comes to venue as well. And also things like food. Where are you going to get the people to eat? Is it going to be in the same, you know, on the same level? Is it going to be a floor down, floor up? Is it going to be somewhere else? You know, and the convenience of that as well. The second thing I actually did was book decoration and a wedding planner. So they came in hand. I know I got married 7 years, my Hindu wedding was 7 years ago. I mean, I got married 8 years ago, but 7 years ago, I remember everybody was against me booking a wedding planner. They were just like, oh, you don't need one and you don't need a coordinator on the day. You know, it's just a waste of money. Like your family can do it, your friends can do it. Yes, that's great, but I'm a control freak and I like to, you know, want to delegate, and I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to upset anyone. But at the same time, I don't want my family and my friends to be working on my wedding day. I want them all to have a great time, and I'd rather have somebody that I can basically delegate, that they can delegate, but also I can tell them if I'm not happy with something or if I want something changed. It's very hard to do that with your family and friends. Like if they're doing something because they think it's nice, how do you say something? Because you don't want to offend them because they're your family or friends. Whereas if it's a wedding planner, you can be very professional and you can be like, hey, this is not what I asked. Can you quickly change this? Can you do this? You know, and I think that's really, really important. But also, if you don't want a wedding planner leading up to the wedding, a coordinator on the day. Even just have somebody on the day to do everything, because I am telling you, that's the one thing that I think you should not compromise on. It makes a huge difference having somebody coordinate on the day. You know things are going to run smoothly, things are going to run on time, and yeah, it's just like you have nothing to worry about. The third thing that I booked, or person, sorry, is a photographer. Now, you want to think about videographers and photographers, right? Do you want both? Do you want one? Or do you want one person to do everything? Or do you want two separate people? I'm not going to give an opinion about it. I work with so many photographers and videographers, so I don't want to offend anyone. But for our wedding, we only booked a photographer. We knew we weren't going to watch the video, and we didn't have any grandparents alive anymore. We don't really have much family in other countries, so we thought, you know what, no one's going to watch this again. We're quite happy with photographers. And for me, because it was an intimate wedding, we really wanted the photographer to be almost not there, like, you know, invisible, and we wanted everyone to be able to see the actual wedding. I didn't want anyone to be blocked off, like nobody's views to be blocked off. I just wanted everyone to really be part of the wedding. And I felt like sometimes when you have a lot of people, a lot of like photographers, they come with assistants or videographers and stuff, they can really, like, you know, block everything because obviously they want their shots, which I completely understand. But for us, we were kind of like, no, we're happy with a photographer, and till today we're still really, really happy that we made that decision and that worked for us. So you might want to look into that. You might want to look into, you know, the budget that you have and stuff. The only thing that I would say is these photos or videos, they're forever, right? Like, and you're going to be watching them, or your children are going to watch them, your grandchildren might watch them, and the photo album. So I do think that you know, booking the photographer of your dreams or videographer of your dreams, I would spend money on it. And also in terms of like, everyone has a style. So I wanted a lot of like moments and just like really random captures. I didn't want any kind of just like staged, that was not my style, that was not my husband's style. So I think it's really important that you and your partner actually discuss what kind of pictures you want, and then also in advance discuss with your wedding planner. See, this is where the wedding planner comes in, or coordinator, to tell them exactly what kind of portrait shots you want, how many families, and then to just kind of not do all these unnecessary pictures and videos, so you have time to really also enjoy everything and take it all in, and not stand there and have people queue up and, you know, these pictures are not going to go in your album. I know that sounds so mean, but it's honestly the truth. And you can never get a family to stand and tell the queue, sorry guys, we're gonna stop the pictures now, the couple need to eat or the couple need to do something. A family member's never gonna do that. But if you have a wedding planner or a coordinator, they can, and nobody will be offended. The fourth thing, I know, do you know what, I'm thinking catering should have been somewhere at the front, at the top as well, but this is the order that I did it. I did my own hair and makeup. I didn't need to book a makeup artist for myself, but at this stage, if you're a bride, you would want to look into the makeup artist that kind of goes with your vibe and, you know, your style, obviously, and also, you know, kind of gets on with all the other vendors and it's on time and anyway, exactly what you want from all of your vendors anyway. But I booked makeup artist and sari drapist for all of my friends and my mother-in-law, the people that I knew were going to be on stage with me most of the time. And I asked around, because it was a destination wedding, I asked all of my friends that came if they needed somebody, if they needed assistance, and I can try and sort them out and they can pay them individually. And yeah, everyone did. Everyone wanted help with sari or hairstyles and stuff. So I arranged and organized that as well. So we had quite a few girls going to different Airbnbs and hotels to sort of get people ready. So I think that's really important to organize that way in advance as well. Just because you've booked a makeup artist for yourself and then you kind of think, oh yeah, I'll find somebody you know, to do the bridesmaids or the mother of the bride or, you know, anyone else. The problem is, think of the auspicious dates. These auspicious dates get booked up. Like almost every makeup artist gets booked up, whether it's a bridal makeup artist or a guest makeup artist, somebody that does, you know, bridesmaids and mother of the bride as well. You want to book them way in advance and you want to make it worthwhile for them as well. Like booking a makeup artist just for one person, like just for the mother of the bride, might not be enticing. So you kind of want to think about your budget. You kind of want to think about, do you want them all to look uniform? Do you want them all to look good? Like these are things that you need to kind of like think about in your budget as well. The next thing that we booked was catering. Food tasting is so important. Now, when you look at venues as well, I know in the UK, as an example, some venues are very particular about the caterers they work with, and they only have a list of catering vendors or suppliers that they will allow in the venue. So you need to think about that as well, and you need to consider that as well. So if you've already had a caterer in mind and you really want that caterer, you might need to change your venue just to be able to have the caterer. So those are things to think about. And also, you know, I felt when it came to catering, I had to discuss that with everybody, not just me and my husband, but, you know, the families, my in-laws, my parents, kind of what they wanted, what everyone liked and what people didn't. You know, me and my family, we were all born and came from North Sri Lanka. My husband's family are from Malaysia, so we kind of, you know, wanted to make sure that everyone was happy with the meals that we were going to serve, and, you know, things like, are you going to have alcohol at the reception or aren't you, or are you going to have it on the same day or not, are you allowed to have meat, or, you know, there's so much when it comes to like traditional Hindu weddings. So that's why it's really important that as a family you all sit together and you talk about what you even want to serve. And then once you book your caterer, I would definitely go for food tasting, and make sure you take the people that have had a say in the food that they want. So make an appointment, everyone go together and have your food tasting. If I'm honest, that was probably the funnest thing that I did with my family and my mother-in-law. It was just fun and we enjoyed it, and we were talking about food, and yeah, it was just such a fun experience. It was like literally going, you know, for a lunch date or dinner date, and yeah, I really enjoyed that part. And Man, you know everyone's going to talk about the food. People usually, guests, when they go to a wedding, they always talk about parking. Is there parking? Is it easily a place easy to get to? And also the food. These are the two things people talk about the most. So I feel like, well, if you're going to be inviting so many people, it would be good to, you know, consider them as well and be a little bit empathetic towards them as well. So I think, yeah, I think food is generally important. And yeah, our wedding food was so good that our guests, even after all these years, still go on about the food that we had at our wedding. And that makes me really, really happy. So while you're talking about food and while you're basically about to book your caterers and stuff, think about, are you going to do little wedding favors? Are you going to do little gifts? Are you going to do, is there going to be anything else? And that's something that you need to think about. And you need to think about how many people, realistically, how many people are you going to give something back to? So we did these cookies for our wedding, and I was so excited about them because they were like very customized, designed cookies. But a lot of us forgot about these cookies and not enough were given out, and some people ended up leaving without the cookies and some people did. And in the end, when we talked about it, we took a lot of these back home and we were eating them for weeks. I'm not even joking. But in hindsight, we just thought that that was just a waste of money, because in the end, there wasn't much of a priority towards that. And if we did have like a sit-down reception, which we never did, maybe that might have come in handy. But even then, you'll be surprised. Some people just don't eat it. Some people just maybe take it home, but then don't end up eating it or throw it away, or kids play with it. And but that's a personal opinion. I felt like, you know, at my first wedding that I had, and I had it at Kew Gardens in the UK, we had these little mini macaroons and stuff, and they ended up being a waste as well. And then obviously I did cookies at my Malaysia wedding, and that ended up being a waste as well. So I think when you think about wedding favors, it needs to be either you delegate somebody, you know, or the wedding planners, to make sure every single guest that leaves takes one of these gifts with them, or, you know, think about it if you even want that to be part of your budget or not. When you print invitation cards, again, I think it's really, really important that you do that with everyone, including both families, and make sure that you get things like names and spellings, and in what order, what are you including, how do you want it to look like, how many invitations are you adding, are you doing e-cards, are you doing physical ones, are you going to be going to people's houses to physically give them, which I know is a very traditional thing, or are you just going to put it through the post, how many are you going to put through the post, how many people are you inviting? That's actually, for me, I felt like that was the most longest process, I would say, because doing guest lists, getting both families to decide on guest lists and how many people they're inviting, and you need to think about how many people the venue can even hold and how many people you can even really invite. And realistically, if you're going to do a, like, let's say, one half of the wedding in the morning and then you're going to do a dinner reception in the evening, are you going to be inviting the same people? Are you going to cut the number? How are you going to let people know that they're not coming to the reception? So that gets really, really complicated, and you'll be surprised. I felt like both times, or especially when I hear it from other brides, guest list can be an actual problem, and how many people are coming and how many people are not coming. Are you inviting kids? Are you not inviting kids? That's like a whole thing, and people do get very offended or upset, and families get really irritated because they want to have a specific number but you don't want that number. So I think that's a very, very, very important discussion, and that is something that you should also do together as a family, and you should do that way in advance. Don't leave it till the end, because it just turns bitter, and it, you know, you don't want to be having arguments and stuff. So you need to be very clear from the start how many people, and kind of discuss that with both families. Well, I would say flowers and stuff go into decoration, so that's something separate. Obviously with traditional weddings, there's like extra bits, like you want extra flowers for the hair. There are so many other things that are involved, and that sort of falls under the bracket of decoration as well, because a lot of florists tend to have it as a package. You get everything from like the venue decoration to like all the other little things and stuff. So that's something to think about. Again, theme, that's like part of the theme. So you kind of want your hair flowers, your garlands, and like your tray flowers and things like that. You want everything to kind of like go together. Are the bridesmaids getting flowers? Is the mum and the mother of the bride or the mother-in-law, are they all going to get flowers? Like, there are things to think about. And obviously if you're having like a church wedding or a civil wedding, again, you want to think about colors and themes. Whenever I do a trial makeup, I always ask my bride before I even start the makeup, like let's say she's wearing a white dress, which is a given, anything goes, right? But I always ask the bride, okay, what's the color theme? What's the color palette of your wedding? What are the bridesmaids wearing? What is your bouquet going to be? And what are the colors of, your table decoration? And that's when I decide if it's a cool tone or a warm tone. Imagine my bride is like, hey, my bridesmaids are wearing all sage green. That's a warm tone to me. For me. And if they say, oh, they're all wearing like, I don't know, pastel pinks and stuff, that's a cool tone. So then I'm like, I decide on the color palette so that the bride overall looks, it just flows, right? Like all the colors and things like that. So you want to think about that as well. And I think it's really, really important that you first think about, before you pick color themes, and I think every bride does that naturally. They already think about exactly what kind of, look they want, what sort of colors they want to wear on their own wedding day. They probably have already thought about this since they were like 6 years old. So I think it's really, really important that you do think about what suits you. Don't just pick a color theme and then work around that color theme. You need to figure out what suits you first. And I've had brides where they've picked color themes that I'm just like, oh, it's not going to really suit their skin complexion or their undertones, but it's too late because they've thought about the themes and the colors and not so much about what really suits them. So I think that's really, really important. You think about what suits you first and then let everything else work around you, basically. I'll get to styling in a bit, but the next thing you want to think about is, are you going to do any other extra events? So because we did a destination wedding and we knew so many of our friends and family were flying down, we kind of wanted to do more events. So we did like a pool party 2 days before the wedding, and then after the wedding we did like a bar thing, and we only invited all the youngsters. We figured if we did do a sit down reception dinner, it was going to cost us so much money, and we were moving as well. I was actually relocating to Malaysia at the time, and for us we were like weighing up our finances, and we kind of thought, what, a lot of the older, like our uncles and aunts and everyone, a lot of them don't drink and they're not dancers. So I knew they were just going to sit on the table and not do anything. So I thought, well, I might as well do like a bar thing and invite everyone, give them a theme, get them to dress up, and we'll do an open bar, and then they can enjoy themselves and they can dance. And they all went to like a club after. So it was amazing. And we felt that the way we planned it and organized it ended up being so worth it. Obviously, I think it's a little bit harder when you do it, as an example, in the UK. If so many families are flying down, they would kind of expect the dinner reception. I think going to a wedding, a proper wedding reception at a beautiful location, I even enjoy it as a guest. Like, it's the funnest part of a wedding anyway. But you want to think about, obviously, are you just going to do those 2 events? Are you going to do like any kind of pre-wedding events or parties or get-togethers? You want to think about your bachelorette, your bachelor. There are so many things associated with that one wedding day, and I think it's really important to think about that in advance, so that if that fits into your budget, or if you need to put some money aside for that. Because sometimes you think about it right at the end and you're like, oh no, I need to add this because so many people are coming, so let me throw this in. And then before you know it, you've gone outside of your budget, and then you're kind of just like, is it really worth it? So I think it's really good to have these kind of discussions, what you want to do, so that from the beginning you can be like, no, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. I just did a very simple bachelorette dinner with some of my girls in the UK before we flew out to Malaysia, and that was good enough for me. But obviously, if you want to do a whole weekend with your girls or whatever, again, budget, right? You want to think about those kind of things as well. And I always feel like it's the little things that add up, like i.e., what car are you going to have? What wedding car are you going to come in? It's just like all these little things. And before the day that you're getting ready, are you going to have a bottle of champagne? Are you going to have all these champagne glasses? And how are you going to do this? Who's going to bring it? And it's so many little things that sort of start adding up. So I feel like you should think about that in advance as well. And this is why it's sometimes good to write these things down and be like, do I need this? Do I want this? Am I going to? And, you know, so don't just do things for the sake of doing it or because other brides have done it. It really, really is important to think about whether you really want it and whether you want to spend money on that, and is it even worth it, or have you always wanted that and that's something that you want as a ritual and you want to follow it. So to think about as well. Okay, styling. Obviously, there are so many different types of traditions and weddings and occasions, so it's really hard for me to kind of like generalize it, but of course you want to think about exactly what you want to wear. And I would say, you know, already have an idea. Don't kind of be like completely clueless about it, because if you are going to be like, oh, I don't know what color I'm going to wear, the problem then becomes that if you have your sister or your friends or your maid of honor or people around you, your mother, other aunts, whatever, it ends up being everyone else's opinion but yours. And then towards the end, you kind of start feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and then you think, oh my God, this is not the color that I actually wanted to wear. So I think it's really important to kind of like just shortlist, you know, like kind of do a list of the top 3 colors that you want to wear and the top 3 kind of types of outfits that you were thinking about, and you know, are you going to go for it, are you not going to? And that will really help you with the shopping as well. And then you want to think about, okay, do you have the budget to fly to another country to buy these outfits, or are you going to buy them in the UK? You know, all of these things. And then you want to think about what type of blouse that you want to do, like, you know, especially if you're getting a sari, or how many times are you going to go in for a fitting, you know, if it's a dress, and you know, where are you going to get your lehenga and things like that. And I know that a lot of people, especially when it comes to an event like a wedding reception, they're kind of just like, I don't want to spend a lot of money on my outfit because I know I'm not going to rewear it, and I, you know, but then it's a shame because I always think, but then you're spending so much money on the venue, the food, the alcohol, the DJ, and all of these things, and in the end, you're not going to look like a bride, or your outfit, you can tell that it's not of the best quality or things like that. So I almost feel like you kind of want to prioritize what's important and what isn't important, because it's too late otherwise on the day, right? Like when you're putting your outfit on and you're kind of just like, and I've had this situation where a few times my brides have wanted to go super simple, which is absolutely fine. But then leading up to the day, they realize that their friends or their maid of honor or all of these people have gotten all out and have gotten one of the best outfits, and then the bride regrets and feels very sort of intimidated or insecure, or and that has happened a few times. And I always think, well, it's hard to then say, why would she get this outfit when she knows I'm wearing this? But it's almost like, no, you can't think of your guests. Obviously, you need to be okay with wanting to wear that outfit and be absolutely okay with it, or go all out and be like, you know what, it's my wedding, I don't care how much this is going to cost, I'm gonna look amazing. And these are really things that you should think about. And a lot of the times people spend a lot of money on the outfit, but then they kind of just leave everything when it comes to the jewelry like very last minute, and they're kind of like, ah, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'll put something together. No, it's so important that you think about your jewelry as well. So as an example, if you are going to be wearing a sari, what I did is I thought, I always knew what color I wanted to wear. Since I was young, I've always wanted to wear yellow. It's my favorite color, and I've never wanted to wear yellow leading up to my wedding. So I was 32 when I got married, and up until I was 32, I'd never worn a yellow sari, because my dream was, no, I'm gonna wow people and I'm gonna wear yellow on my wedding day. And during that time, yellow wasn't very in. Nobody did yellow, nobody had yellow saris, so I had it custom made. And when I had it custom made as well, I already knew exactly what color jewelry that I was going to wear with it. So that was my combination, and it was really, really important. So I do think that you should think about your jewelry, and sometimes it might even be wiser to get your jewelry first because you're so in love with this set and you've always wanted to wear a particular stone or a particular design, and you're like, okay, then you take that jewelry with you, and when you're going sari shopping, you have an idea of what kind of color palettes to go for as well. I know it's very unconventional, like you're probably thinking, who the hell picks the jewelry first and then the sari? But I'm telling you, it will greatly help, because the amount of times I've had brides pick a sari and then come to me and then say, oh my God, I'm struggling. What jewelry is going to go with this? And it's normally everyone's problem. And in the end, they go with something very safe, or they go with something that completely ruins the look of the sari. So it's really, really important to think about that. And bangles. Everybody forgets about bangles for some weird reason. Everybody leaves the bangles till last. And they always end up getting a set that's not the nicest, and I almost feel like it just ruins the entire look. So it's really, 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 really important, please, that you do think of all of these things. And I've got a little checklist that I made for my second change, what I wanted in my bag and my suitcase. So do think of, actually make a checklist. And you know what? You can go and Google and write down, okay, bridal checklist, and you can just have little things like, I don't know, mouth freshener, like nail varnish remover, a nail file, because imagine like your nail chips and you're like, you know, you want to have all of these things with you because no one else is going to have it. And things like extra safety pins and, you know, I don't know, like just like an emergency kit that you have with you at all times, you know, some painkillers, you know, just, I don't know, plasters, because what if you're wearing brand new shoes and yeah, so emergency kits are really, really important as well. Oh my God, when it comes to styling, I could go on and on and on, and I could even do a separate video about styling. And yeah, but I think about that. And also, come on, us women, we know we end up styling the grooms anyway 90% of the time. So you want to think about that as well, and you want to think about their entire outfit, literally their socks and their shoes. Okay, you want to think about all the little details. And again, color palettes, like, are the ties going to match? Are the suits going to match? What are the groomsmen going to wear? What is the best man going to wear? That's going to be all your decision as well, pretty much. Another thing that I'm going to add to styling is bridesmaids. If you're going to have bridesmaids, of course, you're the one that's going to be getting the outfits or the jewelry, or potentially book a makeup artist or a hairstylist or a sari drapist. Like, all of these things will need to be in your budget as well. So maybe thinking about that, you might want to think about how many bridesmaids you're going to have, because I am telling you, that cost will go up like crazy. And you're already going to get your mother, you know, an outfit, your sister or your maid of honor, and then you've got your mother-in-law. And you know, there are so many people to think about as well when you're thinking about, oh, okay, do I buy them their outfits? Do I hire a makeup artist for them? You know, do I cover, I don't know, hotel costs or Airbnbs if we're all staying together? That's already going to be in like a cost. And I think thinking about who your bridesmaids are going to be should be like towards the end, where you're just like, okay, now let me think about my budget and let me think about how many bridesmaids I'm going to have and all the things that I need to cover. And, you know, from travel costs, like breakfast in the morning, like there are so many things that you want to do to make sure that all of your bridesmaids and, you know, your wedding party generally are all happy and very well fed and very well looked after. And that's also costs, right? So that's something to think about. This is also specific for our kind of weddings, is you want to think about your walk-in. Okay, you want to think about your songs. You want to think about, you know, how many people are going to walk with you, how many people are going to walk behind you, what are you going to do for your first walk-in, what are you going to do for your second walk-in. I've been at weddings where that has always been a bit of a problem, and you know, sometimes people are like, no, this aunt needs to walk with you, and no, this is how it should be, and you have to walk with this person or that person, and why are you not wearing a veil, or why are you not doing this? People, surprisingly, on the day, it's always somebody random, not very close to you, would come and try and tell you how to do things. And if you've not had that conversation with your family and know exactly in what order of things you want and how you want things, that's going to just confuse you, and you're going to be overwhelmed, you're going to be upset because you've had something in your mind or a vision and then somebody else ruins it for you. So I think that's another thing that you really should plan. And I think rehearsals, see, like, I know we don't do that so much in our culture, like actual rehearsals the day before, like doing the walk-in and things like that. I do think it's such a great idea. So why not do that with your bridesmaids? Like already have a plan, exactly who's walking with who, already practice it with the song that you're going to walk down to. So usually there's a song and there's one part of the song where the bridesmaids walk in and then the song changes. There's like a little remix, or it's the same song but different timings. So you really want to do this because you're not going to be able to do that again. That's like the one time that you're going to walk down, and if you have a videographer, they're going to record it. So you really want to think about exactly how everything's going to be and how you envisioned it. So it would be good to practice that, and it would be good to, again, if you have a wedding planner and a coordinator, to let them know who's walking with you and who's walking behind you, so that there are no surprises on the day. And even if some random person wants to join the walk, they can just add themselves at the end. You know, you don't want to offend people, right? So you kind of want to think about all of that as well and have that discussion, and have that discussion of like, what are you exactly doing for your first walk-in and your second walk-in? Who's going to walk with you, and what are you going to wear? Are you going to have a veil on? Are you not going to veil on? These are all things that you need to discuss with absolutely everyone, like the intimate, you know, group of people that's part of your wedding. You want to kind of have that discussion with everyone, so you know nobody can come up and try and change things for you. I feel like for every bride, that walk-in is such a meaningful moment, and that's the moment where you're seeing the groom after a long time and you're both having that connection and eye contact, and you're kind of having your moment, and you don't want to walk down being upset already. So that's really important. Last but not least, gifts. You know, you want to think about, are you going to gift, I mean, first person you want to think of is the groom, right? Like, are you going to gift your husband? Are you going to get him a wedding gift, and are you going to write a little card, or are you going to write a letter? Are you going to write thank you cards to like your bridesmaids or your mother-in-law, or, you know, so you want to prepare that as well, and you want to set a budget aside for that as well, like what you're going to get people, and are you going to get people something, and yeah, and you want to think about your suppliers and vendors. Some of my brides do that. They would write a really nice card and just like a little chocolate, and it's actually a really nice gesture. I don't expect that from anybody, and I don't even expect to be fed on the day. I always take my own packed lunch and stuff, but I know some suppliers are there for the whole day, and they're like there for a long time. So you want to think about, you know, a separate table for your suppliers who are going to be there for the whole day, and obviously make sure that they have their food as well, and they have something to drink, and they get to have a little bit of a break as well, because happy vendors means you get a happy result. Okay, so so you want to think about that as well. And then yeah, and again, a budget. Like, is it are you going to give people wedding favors? Are you going to give people something back? And you know, part of the budget, you need to think about the budget and how much you're willing to spend, and is it really worth it or not. I'm not going to tell you and be like, no, don't do it, or do it. It's just something to consider as well. Listen, it's your wedding day. At the end of the day, you need to be happy, and you need to be, you know, this needs to all work for you, and this needs to be about you. And I've noticed this has happened to me. This has happened to 99% of my brides. There's always somebody. It could be a close friend who you thought is a close friend, and then during the wedding time, they're just kind of making things really difficult and hard for you. You know, or it could be a family member, or it could be even somebody, you know, from your in-laws. There could be so many situations, moments, people on the day, leading up to the day, that could be upsetting you, or, you know, making it really difficult for you, or causing issues between you and your future husband. That is going to happen because weddings are huge, and so many people get involved, and so many people are part of it, and you will naturally have very high expectations from the people that you love and care about. But I'm telling you, ultimately, none of that is going to matter. It's not going to matter. The only thing that's going to matter is you, your husband, and your future, okay? And setting yourself up and having a beautiful day and having as much fun as you can, and not overthinking and stressing about the little details. Yes, they're going to matter on the day, and you're going to be upset because you're thinking, oh my God, I've spent so much money. I wanted everything to go well. Or you're thinking, hey, I thought this friend was a good friend, and, you know, in the end, she turned out to be like this. Or it does happen. It does happen. But the only thing I would say is just like, try and not, like, just go in with a positive mind and say to yourself, you know what? Doesn't matter, anything can go wrong, it can rain, I don't care. I'm gonna marry the love of my life, and I cannot wait to start a new life. And I also think, you know, and obviously it's a budget thing as well for everyone, but think about things like, are you going to have 2-3 events on one day, or are you going to have them on separate days? Obviously, it's more cost effective to do everything on one day, but the experience that I have had with brides who have everything on one day is that towards the end, when I'm doing the last makeover for them, they all, every single one of them says to me, oh, I just can't wait for this day to be over. And they say that because they're so tired and exhausted and overwhelmed. And I get it. And so then I think to myself, you know what, you're better off just doing the one event, or if you can, do them on separate days rather than everything on one day, because you're going to be exhausted and you're not going to enjoy yourself. And then if you're hangry, if you're tired and hangry anyway, everyone's going to get on your nerves and you're not going to enjoy yourself, and you're just going to be like, I just want this day to be over. And that would be such a shame to have that kind of attitude, right? So I'm just thinking, you know, I'm saying it to you that, you know, maybe think about those things, and again, think about your budget, and is it really worth it just to cram everything in one day and then for you to just not really enjoy yourself? So yeah, so just be really positive about it. Have all of these open discussions with everyone involved, and just kind of set yourself, you know, priorities. What's more important to you and what isn't? And what, you know, have you always wanted this massive big dream wedding, or are you just doing it for somebody else? Or, you know, there's a lot of conversation around this. So I hope this video kind of helped with that and gave you maybe something to think about. I am so sorry if I've said anything to offend anyone, or if you don't agree with my thoughts about certain things. This is genuinely just from experience, and it's also just my personal opinion. I'm not saying this is right or this is wrong, but it might help you when it's time for you to plan your wedding. Or maybe someone, I don't know, you're the mother of the bride, or you're the sister of the bride, or you're the maid of honor, or I don't know, you're the groom, and you're watching this video and you're kind of like, I didn't think about that. And, you know, because you want to, at the end of the day, if you're not the bride watching it, you're somebody who's going to be part of a big wedding, you want to really think about the bride, and you really want to make sure that she's well fed and she's safe and she feels, you know, comfortable and she's happy. That's really, really important as well. That's your responsibility as being part of somebody's wedding. So yeah, so I hope this helped. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Until next time, thank you. Bye.